The Bite Me podcast is coming right up, and it is brought to you every week right here on YouTube by Freedom Boats. It is the best shallow running boat on the water, and there is a model perfect for you. The Chiquita 14, the Eagle 16, the Patriot 18, the Commander 21, the beautiful Warrior like I have 23, or the big boy that runs so shallow, the General 26. Chet Moore and Pooty can customize it however you'd like, and there's a dealer near you, whether it's the Boatyard in Kemah or dealerships in San Antonio, Beaumont, Corpus Christi, Port O'Connor, Houston, and Aransas Pass. Freedom Boats or freedomboatsusa.com. Welcome into the Bite Me podcast, and really excited for today's show. Always good when we get a bunch of topics from some listeners, and always good when we have some follow-up topics that we didn't get to last week. And always good to have Caleb McCumber back with the gang here. Caleb, I want to get to a couple things with you, but let's set it up real quick for those who are new to the podcast. We really appreciate you joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget to try, if you can, to subscribe on Podbean, where we host it, and we get a lot of questions, man. We get a lot of questions. Hey, I wanted to go back and listen to blah, blah, blah. They're all on Podbean, every single one we've ever done. But you can subscribe wherever you get a podcast, iTunes, Spotify, etc. And the Bite Me group page, very important, especially right now, as we're a couple of months, a little over 2 months away from, I don't know, somewhere in there, from the feeding frenzy. Tagged on the top is where you can RSVP. I don't know. I need to get an update from Gene and Roy Crush, but tagged on the top, pinned on the top is where you can RSVP. First 200 people, we got your meal covered. Also pinned on the top is the raffle tickets for a brand new 2026 Freedom Patriot boat. I was over chatting with Chet Moore and Pooty from Freedom this weekend because I got my boat in for the 10-hour checkup, and he's so excited about it. And we're going to raffle off another one of those, and also the link for the hotel, and that's going to be September 20th. So find all that out. I won't bore you with too much of that until we get a little closer. But let's get going here. First of all, Caleb, we never got the Honduras update. Was it definitely Honduras that you went to?
Pretty sure.
That's what your passport says?
Well, I was riding in a van, and the dude told me, over there's the real Honduras. You don't want to go there. He said, we were in Roatan. It's an island, I presume.
That's a good place. I haven't been there.
He pretty much told us that this whole island's owned by North Americans, so you can hang out here, but don't go to actual Honduras. Terrible idea.
It's not what you want to do.
Yeah. We got the monkeys didn't swim. I thought you'd swim with some monkeys. I always make it bigger in my mind. Mm-hmm. I figure some people be leading some jaguars or leopards or whatever them things are around on the beach, and there'd be monkeys in the tree. Now they got a cage full of monkeys for $15 from the Gringo. You can go in there and give it a sunflower seed.
Did you fish?
The big cat wasn't friendly at all. I don't think. Yeah. We didn't confirm. It might have just been doing like the kitten, like playful thing to me.
Yeah.
I didn't test it. I didn't go fish. I did go dive in a bit and looked at the little colorful fishes, and that was pretty cool. And
yeah. Well, we're glad to have you back, because the only thing you missed was starting about an hour and 15 minutes late for various reasons, including me almost getting hacked and other stuff. But you missed a great discussion on kayaking, man. I know you feel bad about that.
I wouldn't listen to the whole thing. And I'm gonna tell all you son of a guns right now, folks that are concerned, the people that are concerned about the status of me and Scott and Dean and the females in our lives. This is how we have a normal conversation. That was not an argument. That was sitting on the porch talking about it. Me and Scott talk to each other like that all day long.
That's exactly
how we communicate.
Yeah. What was that movie? You think we're fighting? I think we're finally talking.
Yeah,
Jerry Maguire. Like, you think we're fighting? Hell, we're just finally talking.
You ought to hear what we talk about whenever the public isn't watching.
Exactly, you son of a bitch. But
I'll call Dean. I mean, I'll call Scott and be like, Dean has got to be the dumbest bastard I've ever met. Yeah, I know. And then I'll call Dean and say, dude, Scott's a real moron. Dean's like, yeah, yeah. And then they call each other. This is how this works.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Then we call each other and go, man, did you talk to that dumb shit today? He's like, I was on the phone for an hour and a half listening to that dude complain about somebody else, about John Lopez.
Nobody complains about me.
Well,
hence
we
the
know that.
laughing.
We
I
know
was
that.
on the phone.
That's
He's sending me
factually incorrect.
pictures of a scorpion all morning.
yeah.
Go ahead, Scott.
I read that post that somebody put up, speculating that Dean and Camille were mad at each other
Mhm.
over all that. I read that to Camille as she's sitting on the couch. She's just cracking up laughing.
Yeah. Here's the thing. If you ask me, hey, how's Joe Smith, and I say, oh man, pretty nice guy, really enjoyed being around him, I probably don't like him. I'm just being polite.
Yeah.
But if you ask me what about Dean Thomas, I'm like, he's kind of a dumbass and talks fine, but, he's my buddy. That's terms of endearment.
That's a friend. That's a friend, right? Oh, by the way, Dean, I hate to break this news to you, man. I don't want to be the first to break this news to you, but I think you and I are officially good friends. We're going on a second trip to Costa Rica together.
It's like a honeymoon.
What's going on a second trip? That's not right. I shouldn't do that. So I guess we're officially friends here. But what are you gonna do? I've had
dating now, Caleb.
All of my the only friends I have are dumbasses, so I'm kind of stuck with you.
All right. So we have the topics I sent you guys that I'm sure you're looking at just now, except maybe Scott. He's a good soldier. But I had something else that came up. And this was a discussion that I actually got the idea from my wife. And I'm going to start with Scott here, just to get him going. I know Dean's and Caleb are going to have some thoughts on this. So we're driving back Sunday. Keep in mind, Saturday and Sunday, I think Saturday mainly, there were 3 tournaments going on. Saturday and Sunday, it was blowing 25 to 30. She wanted to fish. I wanted to fish. We go out. The number of places we could fish, Scott, was so freaking limited. I mean, of all the bays that we go out there, I mean, there were like 3, maybe 4 places we could fish. And we ended up catching 2 redfish, about 5 or 6 trout, a couple of good trout in there. And normally I'd be like, over 2 days, I don't know, I'd be a little, you're always happy to catch fish. But she said something. She goes, given everything that we were fighting, that was a really good trip. And it got me thinking, hey, what's a good day, really? I mean, it all depends on the circumstances, and we were up against it.
Yeah, you got to adjust your expectations. That's a common thing. Dean and I talk about it all the time. If you're going to go out and you want to fish on a holiday weekend on a Saturday, like my guys did, Dr. Baum and his son last weekend, and it was blowing 25 every day for 4 days through Memorial Day weekend. And they adjusted their expectations. They thought, if we see a couple schools, we'll be good. That's fine. And they would have been perfectly happy with that. Luckily, it turned out completely different from that, and we smoked them every day, all day. But their expectations were not that.
Right.
And so, you kind of adjust.
She was as happy as she could be.
Day's not going to be a banger. I mean, you can't, even when the conditions are right and there's nobody out there, you can't say that you're going to smoke them every time. It just doesn't happen.
So let me tell you about adjusting expectations.
Then there's Dean.
So
today, Dean was itching to get in.
Well, look, here is the exact 100%. 180 degrees of those expectations. So Saturday, and John, you could have fished wherever you wanted, but you would have fished with 150 other people.
Right.
It's not, you could have, if it just been different. So today is Tuesday. I should have known that. Tuesday, great expectations. Tide's up good. Wind is moderate. I got the whole bay to myself. The most amazing expectations you could possibly imagine. And we caught less fish than you caught in 2 days. So
I read across a meme the other day that said, hey, we need to lower our expectations here. No, lower. And they said, no, lower. No, you're getting close. There you go.
There you go.
It's just a solid line of it.
Yeah, there was so much about it, Dean. Like, who schedules 3 tournaments the same day? 3.
Look, there's
I
only
like the
so
white
many Saturdays in a
That's-
summer, and there's more than they can divide them into weekends. So it's just the way
That's
it goes.
every weekend in Port O'Connor.
My God.
Every weekend. All
I'm
through
gonna
the
bet. I bet you there's more than 3 because I knew of one I'd never heard of before going on. In fact, if my boat did something that anybody didn't like this weekend on the water out there, I just want to make it very clear: I was not in it, or I was not driving it because I left it down there with the Turtle Box boys to fish their little tournament, and they went and did their thing. So Captain Caleb spent 0 time behind the wheel Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. It's a very recognizable boat, but it was not me if they did.
That reminds me, Dean. Dean was with us. Was it Saturday? He started cutting off this dude or
I
getting
run
real
over
close to him.
whoever the hell I want to in John's boat.
And he goes, "Doesn't matter to me. They're gonna be yelling at John."
I run right through the crowd in John's boat, flip him the bird.
I showed up to Louisiana one day and went and got in the tower boat, and I was backing into the ramp, and there's a bunch of like apartment, condo, hotel type things by the boat ramp there. And these dudes came out on the porch and started just cussing me. And I was like, I don't understand what's going on. and they listed out what things that I couldn't understand them, but they listed out things that I did in the last day or two. And I was like, I just got here last night. And apparently my partner had pissed some people off, and then I was in the boat.
Well, so if you want to yell at me, I guess I'll have to take it. But it was Dean. It was Dean cutting people off and running over them and everything else. No, the other thing, back on the expectations thing, Caleb. I know you've been fighting the wind. Of course, you do it a lot in tournaments, but I'm talking about like just out trying to put some people on some fish and all that. It was kind of reassuring too. You always see things through your lens, but to see it through someone like my wife who hasn't fished but for 3 years, she's like, that was a great day, everything considered, and that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, like Scott last week, I thought it was gonna be terrible. And on Sunday we really didn't even fish. It was like a sightseeing laying tracks trip, and we still probably caught 20, 25 fish. And then on Monday we probably caught 30 or 40, and then on Wednesday, shoot, if we didn't catch 70, we caught 100. And it shouldn't have been worth a damn. But if I'm being honest, I think that if everybody's laughing and having a good time and enjoying themselves, the fish doesn't really freaking matter that much.
Yeah.
You get the right people out there. Yeah. And
I do it to myself all the time. We fished Thursday, Friday down south, and like Dean said, man, the tide is a little bit lower than I would have wanted to be, but man, we had good sun. The wind always sucks down there, but it sucked less on Friday or Thursday and Friday. And dude, the fish were spooky. Really couldn't get them to eat, and like we were serious and trying to make content for Angler U and Turtle Box, and me and Owen were getting frustrated and pissed off at it. But if it was just me and Owen not trying to make content and just having a good time and laughing, I mean, honestly, you fish long. It's just like we talked about before. When the people get like super pissed about something that happens in the water, a boat does this, but that's just, in my opinion, that's just lack of experience on the water, because you get used to it. You get to where like, hey, this is part of it. It just is what it is. And having days where you only catch 2 reds and 5 trout, that is what it is too. And did you have fun doing all the other stuff? Did you, tell some dirty jokes and, talk about Trump and Elon fighting each other and get some laughs out of the day? You can get through that and get 57 text messages about how Dean is assaulting Camille. And every message I've gotten in the past 2 weeks has something to do with Dean breaking something.
As long as Caleb gets him the number 55 Gordo plate,
I got it on Saturday
at the taqueria, his day is done, man. It doesn't matter what happened. He calls me up, and when he was like, man, dude, they got the same menu over in their Port Aransas at San Juan, because then he was fixing to drive across the ferry to come over here.
An hour and a half wait.
to get him the number 55. If
caught-
you think that boy just opened up his brand new Hot Wheels on Christmas morning whenever he found out that they had the 55 in Port Aransas.
On Thursday, we got one fish to eat. And on the way back to the ramp, all I was worried about was whether there was a number 55 El Gordo at the local San Juan. There was not, Dean.
So yeah, it was a good day.
Yeah.
I did a video and it wasn't even meant to be. It's a little short. I put it out years ago, but it's me and Robert Jones fishing, and we're sitting in my tower, and we haven't caught nothing. It sucked all day. And so Robert does this big old talk about how, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to try to go over here and see if we can make our day better. And it pans over to me, and I don't know why or how it happened, but I'm chewing on a piece of jerky, and I just look at the camera and go, jerky's pretty damn good. And that's just where my head's at.
That was it.
Yep.
We put more pressure on ourselves to put people on fish and make sure they're having a good time and all that. When a lot of times I'll catch myself getting irritated. I'm out there chasing tarpon. I can't find the damn tarpon. I can't figure out what they're doing today. I'm looking here, I'm looking there, I'm running all, and I'm kind of apologizing to the guys. Hey man, I found them over here yesterday. Let's go look over here. Maybe they moved over here. And they're like, dude, this has been awesome. We saw dolphins and we saw a manta ray and a big shark came by. And they're just enthralled with everything that has happened out there. The turtles and we saw, 2 schools of big jacks and had a good time with the jacks. And yeah, man, if we find a tarpon, that's just bonus.
Well, guiding wise, to me, I mean, Perry Bauman and I had this kind of day. We went out and the fishing it wasn't that good. I think we caught like 3 trout all day long. But at the end of the day, I had showed Perry a bunch of stuff and discussed strategy and all this. And I told him, I said, look, it didn't work that well today, but it's going to work for you. And to me, as a customer, you got guys with different expectations. Some people, the guys I had on Wednesday flew in from Maryland. They didn't give a rat's ass about how to fish Matagorda Bay. And it worked out. We caught a bunch of trout. That was great. But, primarily what me and Scott and Dean are doing is we're kind of working ourselves out of a job. We're teaching you how to do it yourself. And then it wasn't 2 or 3 weeks later, Perry went and tried it again and sent a picture of a big old trout. And man, Matagorda is great. And then yesterday I saw something about I'm moving my boat to Port O'Connor. Screw Matagorda.
I saw that.
Perry learned more about Matagorda than I really thought he was going to take in on one trip with me.
Yeah. He's got a freedom too, I think.
Yeah,
I think he does. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, he bought a freedom from, he's been a long time listener. He's been tied in with us forever. And good dude. Yeah, he's moving to Port O'Connor, and me and him are supposed to go out at some point here before too long. Let me lay down some tracks for him so he doesn't run into any, motor blocks or anything like that.
When the man of the years on Earth that Perry is, when he gets on your boat and plays death metal, don't be alarmed. This is normal.
Oh, I know. I had him out
Death metal.
He's been out tarpon. Yeah, he's been out tarpon fishing with me.
Perry's way more hardcore than any of us, dude.
By the way, I was just laughing when Caleb's talking about Dean assaulting Camille. The one thing that I did love, and there was the one moment, Scott, where I was like, okay, this is fun. I know they're just jacking with each other, but where this might go like to another level was when she told Dean, "You're almost right," or "That's almost right." I went, in other words, he's wrong.
That was one of those episodes that's damn good I wasn't here because I know both their buttons and we'd have been pushing them.
I know.
She knows how to say things in a corporate setting in a corporate way.
Yeah, she didn't fool me.
Nah, she's passive aggressive is what she is.
Camille has never told me I'm almost right. I've never even gotten that much credit.
I was laughing so hard about that.
Well, what got me with Scott? It looked like he was froze. He just sitting there with this grin, and I didn't know if he was being entertained or if he was nervous because she is behind him.
Yeah,
but she kept poking me in the back as he was talking. She had 2 fingers and was poking me between the shoulder blades constantly, like when she wanted.
What am I gonna do?
She really wanted to talk, and she instead of talking, she was poking me. I was like, "Dang, you're killing me here."
Oh boy,
I
that
was
was
Dean
great.
was shut up so you could say something and quit poking me.
I'm gonna start using that. That's almost right. That's almost, so in other words, it's wrong.
Yeah.
What ended up happening to me that irritated me? First off, it irritates the crap out of me when we call them boats. They're not boats. They're fancy canoes.
They're
at best.
kayaks. Yeah.
They're kayaks. But Scott likes the boats. My boats. It's not a boat, Scott. But what really got me was, like I said, the last 2 or 3 weeks, everything that fella in my up there, my family matters or whatever, the Brady Bunch over here. Everything he's done has come to me in text, and I got the whole Camille and Dean got after it, and I'm interested. I'm like, oh yeah. And so as soon as I left AP after getting my number 55 El Gordo, me and the kid I was with was like, we're gonna watch this. I have never once in my life went back and watched a Bite Me, and I'm like, we're gonna watch this. And I watched the whole thing, like waiting for them to actually for something out of the normal to happen. And all I did was listen about a damn kayak for an hour, and then it was over. And I was like, "What the hell?" This.
What
See,
did you learn anything?
Yeah, you learned something.
Man, there's something I want to say, but I'm not. Long and skinny is what people prefer or should have. Short and fat is not as good as long and skinny.
Yeah,
that's what I got.
Yeah. Well, I got the ride.
Just navigate right on past this one because I got so much. No, we're only 20 minutes in. We're not going to get yelled at on the Facebook page again. Just keep going.
Yeah, I got the ride, and it's got some girth. All right, so let's get to some topics here. It does. I'm not wrong.
The guys that use, and because I don't have a dog in this fight. The dudes that use paddles have a real bone to pick with every other son of a gun in the industry. I learned that.
Yeah, you did learn that.
I learned that.
All right,
and
so
what Dean said, it took 40 acres to turn that 16 around. That made me laugh a little bit.
Hey, let's talk a little surf fishing. Eventually, the wind is going to die down. I'm guessing. Dean's right. It's been 3 months, but surf fishing is one of those things that you can do in a boat, you can do on foot, you can do in your truck, you can do whatever, however you want, and it's kind of open ended. I know all three of you guys have probably done a lot of surf fishing. I don't know the last time, but certainly in your boats you have. Dean, I'm gonna start with you. You've done it all. You've probably been on the surf and kayak, for goodness sakes. What you should know and what you should do. And this comes from a discussion I had with Uncle Kerry over at Fishing Tackle Unlimited, and he was talking to a customer before I was chatting with him, and he was telling him, Dean, when you try to throw out to the third bar, or you're in your boat and you're casting at the third bar, those are passing fish. But the ones that are feeding are kind of closer to the first bar. Of course, it depends on some time and stuff. But he says, you really want to get up to the first bar. And I went, light bulb moment. That's a topic that we really haven't covered in a while. So your thoughts on what you should do, what you should know now that you're surf fishing time.
I want to know what makes you think the wind's going to quit blowing, first of all. Yeah. I mean, based on
there are no signs.
The Farmer's Almanac or something? Does the Farmer's Almanac say it's going to quit this month? But man, surf fishing can be an amazing thing. My best luck in the surf has always been early. I mean, the trick is to get there early, be there when the sun comes up. And yeah, I mean, the first gut is going to be where fish are feeding. I mean, you'll see mullet streaming out there beyond the third bar. I mean, and you'll see birds and you'll see a lot of commotion way out there, but it's absolutely not necessary to go out there. I mean, you're passing up a lot of good opportunity if that's your ultimate goal. But I mean, you can go over here to Port Aransas and, you get out there early in the morning before the beach traffic, before the people are there, and you cast the first hour from sunup until, the little kids start coming out in their boogie boards. And that's always been the best. I mean, some amazing, beautiful speckled trout will be caught as soon as the conditions get right. And I mean, there's a lot of beach out there too, man. I mean, you can start in Port Aransas and you can go all the way to Port Mansfield and surf and different conditions and a lot of that. But I mean, I always did kind of the urban surf thing over here, just in Port Aransas, take the ferry across, be there in 30 minutes, fish an hour, and see some really good stuff. But the wind, the conditions have been rough. There's a lot of seaweed this year too, so the seaweed coming in is kind of a pain in the ass. But the seaweed brings fish, it brings bait, it brings a lot of stuff. There's pros and cons to go with that. And then, you know, heavy lures, spoons, things that'll kind of cast into the wind are going to help you in that situation also.
Yeah, Scott, you know, I'm interested in your thoughts on the passing fish, the traveling fish, I think is what Uncle Kerry called them, and versus the ones feeding. But the other part of it that I want you to get into, and Dean just touched on it a little bit, if conditions were great tomorrow, this is from the question I got regarding surf fishing. If the conditions were good, what are you packing and what are you doing?
Mirrodines, soft plastics, and spoons. Yeah, can't hardly go wrong with that. Personally, though, I'm going to throw a topwater. I'm going to get out there and throw me a little Spook Junior, or, you know, some kind of a small topwater, most likely, because I'm going to throw it up there parallel to the walking into the first gut, and that's going to be right at daylight until the sun gets up. Just probably an hour after the sunrise, and then and that's when you start moving to the second gut. If you can find you a spot where there's a washout between the first and second gut, I set up on one of those last year and had a blast. Fish were up there real tight. They were in 8 to 10 inches of water right at daylight, and you could see them zooming back and forth, chasing little small finger mullet and mud minnows or whatever they were after up there. As soon as that sun creeped over the horizon, though, they went into that cut gut between the two. It was a long angular gut that traveled from the first one to the second one, and they started working the hell out of that. It was maybe knee deep or so. And the higher the sun gets, the further out they go. And what Carrie's talking about is once the sun is up, that's when you're standing on the second bar, chunking out to the third gut. The fish have moved further out there, and they're traveling up and down. They'll run parallel to the beach, and they're just going to be on the move. And you can see it. You know, you got a whole line of waders. You'll see the guy at the far end get hit. The next guy gets hit. The next guy gets hit. It's just, you know, it travels down the beach. So when you see that happening, be ready. Don't be screwing around with your tackle, and get your turn in there, because that school's going to keep passing, going right on by you. Generally, you get one, maybe two fish out of that, and they keep going. The depth of these guts is also a big difference between way down there on South Padre towards the Mansfield jetties on up to Corpus. That first gut's a lot deeper. Where I am, the first gut's not quite as deep. You get up to Galveston, some days you got to pass by that first gut because it's just, you know, a few inches deep and there's really not any life in it. You might get to the second gut before you start casting. So you just got to kind of play that by where you are and what the depth of the water is.
Caleb, how much are you doing? Because that's one of the things I always let slip through the cracks. If I'm going off through the jetties, I generally am taking my kingfish stuff if it's that flat, you know. What are you doing?
I said, I got dog, man. The dog's going crazy.
He was on mute.
No, I'm
He's
sitting
looking at the ceiling and his mouth's moving. I had no idea what was going on.
No, this is my pondering pose. If the first gut don't have any water in it, wouldn't the second gut be the first gut?
Probably true.
Okay. I mean,
probably true.
Yeah.
That's existential right there. Very much so.
I wandered into line cutters down in West Columbia the other day, and turns out that's where a lot of the fans of the show hang out at. And they had been surf fishing, and they said what these guys said, that about when that sun got about, you know, I call it 4 fingers, but an hour, like 4 fingers is an hour. Up the surf fishing just absolutely turned off. I don't fish the first gut or the second gut. I'm in the boat out there fishing the passing by schools, except mine are 25 pounds. And
that's the other thing. Sherman was talking about it. Just depends on what you're targeting. and what
Yeah.
species you're after.
And
Now,
see,
that's another thing worth talking about.
I prefer like 9:30 in the morning to like 4 in the afternoon for those guys out there. But it's a totally different surf fishing.
Well, explain those guys and take us through it.
Well, though, I mean, it's kind of the same you are talking about. It's the Pass and schools, but they're, it's schools of jacks and bull reds and heck, kingfish and stuff. If you later in the year, if you get lucky, even though I did see the shrimpers were up against the beach right before Memorial Day. Scott's typing like the wind over there on something.
Mhm.
The shrimpers were up, so there might have been some big fish up. Scott's throwing me off because I don't know
He's
if
answering a texter, I'm sure.
yeah, I don't know. But no, those fish, they're up there in those guts early in the morning. But the ones that I'm looking for, they don't seem to want to come up real good until mid morning, and on. But it's the same idea. It's schools just coming down. They're usually on the outside of the pogey line or maybe in it. But you can see them coming just the same. You can see the little blow ups and all that going on. Plastics and jig heads, half-ounce jig heads, quarter-ounce jig heads. Halves are really my go-to. In fact, people associate heavy jig heads with deep water, but I was throwing half-ounce jig heads in a foot and a half of water this weekend.
Mhm.
The
How
heavier,
come?
well, the heavier jig head counters the wind, and I can cast it further, right?
Mhm.
And so when you are talking about those schools coming past you, if you can't get the angle on them, if they're outrunning you to the angle you're trying to intercept them on, or they're just that flat out running you can get out there further to them, right? And the wind doesn't catch it and move it to mess up your cast as much. And then once your lure gets in the water, whenever the wind starts blowing that little bow in your line, it doesn't affect the lure as much. But I mean, to me, I guess what I've done a lot of with customers is we'll get out early in the morning and we'll roll that first or second go with top waters, like Scott was saying, just troll it. And then as the sun starts getting up and the activity starts getting better in deeper water, then we just move out to the deeper water.
Let's talk about taking your game to another level. Let's talk about Sawgrass rods. If you haven't heard, they're taking over the inshore, offshore, and fly rod game. Sawgrass rods, Colin Zillich, the whole gang over there are going to make sure that you've got the right rod. We throw Sawgrass rods, and Sawgrass is the next level of rod. I'm telling you, when you order a Sawgrass rod, if you don't like what you ordered, return it. They'll pay for the shipping. That's the way it is, and that's the way you can trust Sawgrass rods, sawgrassrods.com. Yeah.
Heavy spoon. I mean, heavy spoons is kind of the same idea. You can get them out further. The wind affects them less. I'm not responsible enough to own spoons, so I don't throw them.
Okay, so Dean, this one is from a discussion we had. I don't know if it was at the Flatsworthy event or not. By the way, George on the board said, did they say whether they were having any luck buying back the oyster licenses when we went to the Flatsworthy dinner? I didn't hear that particular discussion, so let's start there.
No, the only thing I heard was bighorn sheep are being transplanted in the Trans-Pecos region.
Yeah. So if you want to,
I learned a lot about bighorn sheep, but I'm not sure about the oysters.
And then Dean and I spent a lot of time looking at each other going, huh?
Yeah. How's that here?
I spent most of mine telling Scott, shh, I'm trying to learn about bighorn sheep. Quit talking.
Forget the oyster buyback. I want to know about these bighorn sheep.
Man.
But the other discussion we had, Dean, and we were laughing about it, but it's inevitable. We were talking to somebody, and he was talking about the new color, this new color plastic. And I was just like, there are only so many colors out there, but boy, we are suckers. You always talk about I buy shit should be tattooed on your forehead, but it gets us every time. I mean, it kind of got me thinking about, okay, so yeah, we all have our favorite colors, and maybe you want to share what yours are and all that, but a new color in the plastic, that's one where I think we can all say, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Just pick a color. What are your thoughts on this whole you were talking about marketing last week,
Well, yeah, of course. It never ends. And it was an ad. I don't remember what company it was. I don't even remember if it was any well-known company or something obscure, but in the corner of the ad, it had this giant little multicolor logo, and it said new color for 2025 or 26. And I was just sitting there. I just thought how crazy that is. If you walk down the aisle of any tackle store and you look at the variety of colors, I was like, how could you possibly come up with a new color? I was like, there's not one left. I
There's
mean,
not one
I don't know how that could have been, but yeah, it's just, there's always, every single year, there is a new color of soft plastic that is supposedly somehow better than the new color that was just 12 months ago, and so on and so forth. And yes, I guess people do go for it and go into that. But if you talk to people that, you know, do that, I have two colors of soft plastics that I throw. Occasionally there's a third one blended in there, but I count on a dark one and a bright one and a white one. So that is, but
What if they come
I mean,
out with one that's a little bit brighter?
He's
Do
gonna
what?
buy it if they come
Yeah.
up with a brighter white.
Yeah, what if
Or
you have one
brighter
that's a little
color.
brighter?
Well, the only thing brighter than that is that flamingo, that hot pink, which is,
Mhm.
I mean, that thing is crazy, but it catches a lot of fish too. But I mean, the new color on the soft plastics, I didn't think that there was a possibility that anybody could create a new color that hadn't already been created just from what was out there. But there will be a new one next year.
Yeah,
I
there
usually
will.
throw whatever colors in my cup holder.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, that too. But Scott, I did, you know, and I was doing this. I think with Dean. You know, we were catching some trout, and you've always talked about when you're catching fish is when you should try some, you know, some new stuff. And that's exactly what I was doing. And I was just every 2 or 3 casts, I just changed color. Let's see what this one does. Let's see what this one does. And I'll tell you what, my very unscientific survey, I was catching just as many fish on every single color. But you know, there are some that you just go to, you know.
And yeah, I agree with the light and the dark.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the, you know, chicken on a chain was the first one to come out like that, where it was dark on the top and lighter on the bottom, and having a
You
chartreuse.
just flip it over.
Yeah. So that one's great. I mean, that's generally my go-to. The DOA's version of it is Fiji Chicks,
Mhm.
and I use that one. The only other thing is chartreuse tail or not a chartreuse tail, because I have
Yeah.
seen that make a difference on redfish in shallow water. I throw a chartreuse tail 99% of the time, and then every now and then I'll see where they just spook off of it. They don't like it. They're
Yeah.
just not into the. And I switch over to the same color lure without a chartreuse tail and start catching fish. I don't know why the chartreuse tail matters so much sometimes, but
Mhm.
it seems to.
It does, Caleb. The other thing about it, and by the way, we're gonna have Mark Nick. I'm gonna chat with him Friday, just to maybe get some thoughts on his thoughts on all this. So that's a little programming note for the YouTube channel. But chartreuse, what Scott just said is exactly what I was going to ask you about. That if there's one color, if there's one thing that I like, regardless of the color, is a chartreuse tail, unless, as Scott said, it's just not going to happen that day.
Man, what I'm wondering is Jeff Flanagan's in the comments, and I can't figure out if I called him Jim all weekend or not. Because they fished with me and then they hung out for like another 3 days. But I had Jims on the boat too, and I'm like, man, did I screw that up? I'm not sure.
I was talking. We were giving with Carrie Scruggs, Dean's better half. She asked for all our legal names, our government names, on for the Costa Rica trip. And
yeah, and I was surprised that yours was Julio Rodriguez.
Legally, yes.
I was shocked. That
So I
we've
sent
been calling
mine.
you John Lopez all these years.
Julio what?
Rodriguez.
So we were I sent mine, and then a little while later, the other couple that's going to go sent theirs, and I told Jan, I said, that's not the person we're going with. It was like Francis Paul something. And I went,
Trip.
oh, Trip.
Yes.
I was like, oh,
Yes.
Trip. That's
Francis.
what it is.
And that's why he prefers to be called Trip.
I told her, I said, are we going with a priest? We're because that is not going to work. That
We're
will
going
not.
we're going with the new pope.
I can tell you right now. We had a great time last year with Dean and Carrie, but this priest is in for something right now. It ain't gonna happen. Francis,
You go to confession when it's over.
That's right. But anyway, Caleb, I cut you off just on we're talking about the colors and the new colors and the marketing and all that stuff, but the chartreuse tail.
Yeah, we did. I did yell at him at the boat ramp a couple days later and call him Jim. But he said it's better than what his wife calls him, so we're good. The chartreuse tail, I like it when there's small bait present. When there's like small shad and stuff, I think it gives like a smaller flicker in the water.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I mean it's a little smaller, different thing flashing.
I'm learning something today. Yeah,
that's primarily when I'm going to go to the chartreuse tail. I don't. Scott mentioned something about DOA has a color called Texas Croaker, which is like a purple back with kind of a clearish gold belly with gold flake and a chartreuse tail, and that's one of my favorite ones. Like over here when the shad are out over in Louisiana, there's always small fin fish rolling around. It's one of my favorite ones because of that. That being said, if I'm not around a bunch of small bait fish and stuff, I don't really put as much emphasis on the chartreuse tail.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time in my life where I believed that Chicken on a Chain caught all the redfish in the area, and 10W40, which both of them were Bass Assassin colors, almost the same color, just one chartreuse tail and one isn't. I seem to catch more trout on the solid and more redfish on the chartreuse, but I think that probably been what the hell did you say last week? Coincidence over causation?
Who, me?
I feel like Dean busted that out on us or something.
I ain't never said that.
Either way, I feel like that's coincidence over causation. In
those terms.
That must have been a podcast with smart people I listened to after that one.
That's a Bill Harvey thing right there.
Yeah,
correlation is what I said.
Correlation over causation.
Yeah, correlation does not imply causation. So there,
Okay, so you said that.
Yeah, so here's where I'm gonna learn. I learned something from you today. I'm gonna teach you something. Like, just because something happened doesn't mean that.
Did he just tell me I'm almost right?
You're almost right. You're almost right. I'm telling you, that should be on our new shirts. You're almost right. Just because something happened when you did thing number one doesn't mean that thing number one caused that to happen. Correlation without causation.
Yeah, sure. So
wait a minute. Say that again.
Rhinotherm.
So I'll put it in fishing terms. Just because you put a chartreuse tail on that bait and caught 3 fish in a row doesn't necessarily mean that the chartreuse tail caused you to you're correlating the 3 fish with the chartreuse tail.
That's what I was trying to say, John.
Yeah.
So what caused it then?
Well, then you can do a beta test and try.
Nobody trying to fish for no beta.
They whoop up like that when you put a mirror in front of them.
Yeah, if they travel in schools, they kill each other. That's why you got to keep them in a ping pong ball.
Yeah, you would do the beta test without a chartreuse tail, see if you can catch 3.
Do like a flow chart.
Yeah,
pretty much.
If then thing.
Yeah.
The x-axis and the y-axis. The bells. There's bells in these charts. We know that.
I can tell you what. If I catch 3 in a row with a chartreuse tail, then I'm gonna keep throwing it some more.
Yeah, when you're talking about switching lures, like, dude, fishermen are the kings of if it's broke, like, don't fix the broke thing. What?
That's like something I said when we first started this podcast. One of the questions was, changing colors and how important color. And when you run into somebody, and I had been in the sales rep business, I ran into it all the time. Well, we only carry this one because this is the only one that catches fish.
Right.
Well, what else have you thrown? Well, we don't throw anything else because this one catches fish.
See, that's right there, Caleb. That what Scott just said is correlation without causation.
Right? Yeah.
Is that good or bad? Because it made sense to me.
When there's little fishes out there.
If you're catching fish, it's good.
It's just kind of like Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah, that's right. Oh boy. Hey, we got to get into a little bit of a little bit of snapper fishing, man. It started last weekend or a little over a week now. But people are trying to go snag some red snapper. Scott, I'm going to start with you here because I know you're going to maybe do some of that. But I had a question, and this was another one that I had with Uncle Kerry. He was talking about this. Is it called slow pitch jigging? Have you seen that? I've never really done it ever. Are you planning on doing that?
I'm all set up for it. Yeah. And yeah, I'm ready to do it. I got the rods, the reels, everything's all set up. I got a bunch of slow pitch jigs. Just got to get the damn wind to drop enough to get out there and do it.
He was saying, sorry, but he was saying, like, he's been on boats and heard of guys on boats with the slow pitch jig. The rods are like micro thin.
Yeah.
They're micro thin and strong, and they bend all the way to the handle.
Yeah.
Like that's all. Have you tried it, Caleb?
Dude, I've caught grouper in 1,000 feet with those things. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, you're not fighting them with the rod at that point. You kind of point the rod at the fish. And
I don't. No, not me. I was seeing what I would, but the rod ain't doing no fighting. It blew my
the
mind.
rod's
I went
not
out
doing
there and he
anything
had
for you.
that stuff. Oh
Yeah.
What I mean, we're throwing like 8-ounce diamond or 8-inch diamond. I don't know how they were 8-inch diamond jigs with these things. And just when you work it, like the tip of the rod, it almost touched the butt of it.
Yeah.
And it sucks reeling up a grouper from 1,000 feet with one of them.
But that was something that I just saw fascinating. And look, I'm not going to be portray myself as some expert on offshore fishing. So I was asking him all kinds of questions about the reels are badass with the big long handles. And you're working on the line. He said like 40 or 50 pound test, all that. But that was just kind of one way I wanted to get into snapper fishing, because there's a lot of us in our bay boats, Scott, that are going to, whether it's state waters or maybe get a little daring, go into federal waters. How should we set them up safely for some snapper fishing?
Well, federal waters opened up June 1st and supposed to go through September 15th, but they can close it at any time if the quotas are met. And I don't know how the hell they figure the quotas out. It makes no sense to me. But yeah, state waters are still open, and you can keep your limit of state fish. Don't try to mix the two. Don't go out there and be in federal waters where the limit is 2 and then come back in and think, okay, well, I caught my 2 in federal waters. I'll catch my state water limit and then go in. They are watching you with radar, and they will look at your GPS and see where you've been. And when I watch them every year sitting at the jetties with that big old radar going, and they are popping everybody that's coming in from offshore. It's not worth it. It's not worth 1 or 2 more fish, to do that. One of the things that a lot of people get tagged on is if you're using bait, you have to use a circle hook, and it has to be non-stainless steel. You also have to have a deflation device of some type, either one like what that company that has the descending devices that we talked to the guy a while back. You have to have something along those lines, or a deflator to do away with the bear trauma, where you bring a fish up and it's bloated because of the change in pressure. You have to have a way to put it back down in the water column so that it can survive. Those are 2 laws that get broken on a regular. The circle hook thing and not having a deflation device, and also going into federal waters and catching your 2 fish and then coming into state waters. I hear people talk about it all the time.
So you can't do that whenever federal and state's open?
Nope. You can stay in state water if you stay inside 9 nautical miles, and catch your fish. You can have a state limit. If you venture outside that, even say you came in there, you caught your state limit, and then you went out to go catch kingfish out past 9 miles, and you turn around and came back, prove where you caught those.
Damn.
Yeah, that seems difficult. Hey,
So
Dean,
the whole thing is just stick with the federal limit no matter where you're going. I mean,
so that's 2 instead of 3.
Yeah.
Hey, Dean, you reckon if you ain't got a deflating device and you promised the game warden that you'd suck the air out of his butt, you'd get by?
No. Nah, because they
The
asked
worst
me
part
one
is Dean
day.
had to think about that.
Yeah, he paused
I
for a
was like,
second.
well, one day they asked me if I had a whistle on my boat, and I went, and they didn't think that was funny either.
Scott did it and didn't get a ticket.
Yeah, I had one stop me in Louisiana, and he said, "How loud can you whistle?" I said, "Pretty loud." He said, "Show me." I whistled as loud as I could, and he said, "That good enough?"
Oh wow.
That was
Dang.
toasty.
No, they
He was
They didn't
also a
think-
listener of the show, so
Yeah,
that-
he's a homie. We got
Yeah.
lucky.
He was
Yeah.
a homie.
they didn't think that was funny. So I mean, I don't see how sucking a redfish butt is gonna pass either.
Every year, though. Go
Does-
ahead, Dean.
So why can't a knife be a deflation device?
No.
It don't let air out. It just
Yeah, it
pours
does.
out in their skin.
No.
The answer
No.
apparently is no.
No.
It needs,
So
it gotta be something holler.
is the
It's a hollow
Can it-
needle, and you put it in, and it allows the air to escape without damaging the fish like a
Mhm.
knife would.
Yeah.
You ain't filleting the son of a bitch.
Jason Bourne went here. Jason Statham went fishing with us today.
So Dean, when was the last time you went snapper fishing?
that was about 2 summers ago.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask you. You know, I'm assuming you went out in your boat, or did you go with somebody else?
No, I went out. It was I got a kid that my son went to school with, and he's captain over there at the Dolphin Dock. So I went out with him.
Yeah, because my other point is, you know, there are guys like us that, you know, try to get out there, even if it's just state waters. You know, Scott covered a lot of the technical aspect of the fish, but what are you doing? I mean, you got to be extra careful out there.
Man, they have turned that simple snapper fishing into the most complicated
He's not leaving
thing
this.
that it's just even I think what may have been 2 or 3 years ago. I don't remember what it was, where they reached their quota in like 3 days and they
Mhm.
closed the season. Oh man, it caused nothing but uproar. And then somehow magically 1 week later they decided to reopen the season. The quota changed, and every year it's different, and it can be quite complicated. Now you got to have a needle, and you got to have something to lower them down there to let their air out. I mean, it's become quite regulated.
But if you don't do that, you're just killing the fish one after another. I mean, I've been out there and seen it so many times where a boat is reeling up undersized fish one after another and just turning them loose, and they're bloated up
Yep.
and they just float until they get eaten by something.
Sharks tear it up, man. You got a try. I've seen it on the party boats where they just I've seen some horrible things take place out there that when nobody's looking, they don't always go by the rules. But there's not a lot of faith in the regulators of the snapper industry. There's a lot of it's just there's no love for the people that make those rules, and the fishery in our side of the Gulf compared to the other side of the Gulf, the Florida. So much controversy, so much argument about where those fish live. Do they migrate back and forth? What the population of snapper actually is in the Gulf? Why is it so regulated? It's very controversial.
Well, so let's get back to the other thing that we haven't covered here, because I want to make sure and cover everything. How do you do it? How do you set up your boat when you're normally, you know, because these boats go out there. We see it all the time. Hell, I've seen John boats, you know, out there. Kayla, I'll start with you. You know, how do you set up your boat? How do you get this thing going?
Well, I mean, you could keep it pretty simple. We once sent Chris Williamson a picture of all of us with his lightest trout rod catching a state snapper, and he didn't love it.
Yeah,
well,
go ahead.
I mean, it's pretty simple. I think it's nice to have down scan on your boat for sure. You can see the wrecks and stuff. You can actually go. I think NOAA has, like, if you don't have any marks offshore, NOAA has like some public marks and stuff that you can go find out there. But I mean, it's just you know, a little bit better rods and reels, or I guess not better, but a little bit heavier gear, maybe a 4,000 instead of a 2,500, and some, you know, a little bit heavier rods. You don't need crazy stuff to catch snapper, particularly state snapper. I've not found them as chunky as federal snapper have been, right? But if you're, I mean, I also have a handheld VHF because I don't worry about a VHF in the bay, anymore. We got cell phone. If I can call you from the land cut, I can call you from anywhere.
Yeah.
But I do have a handheld VHF for whenever we get out there. In case something goes wrong, something goes screwy, I need to call the Coast Guard. I've got a friend that their boat sunk and he was smart enough to climb. They were tied off to a rig, like, I don't know, 10, 11 miles out or something. And their boat just sunk out from under them. And I still don't know why it sunk. And everybody washed away except him. And he somehow climbed up the platform ladder. And if you meet him, you think he is dumb, but he's really not. And he shut it down. He shut the well down. And a couple hours later, here comes a helicopter to see why the well shut down.
Dang, that's pretty smart.
And his friends had drifted like 8 or 10 miles already at this point with a weather coming. And the chopper pilot told him if he had shut it down an hour later, that they wouldn't have checked it till tomorrow. And so everybody was saved. Everybody's recovered. They had on their life vest and stuff. But crap happens quick out there. And so VHF really isn't a bad idea. Other than that, you need a big old box of frozen sardines and some stainless steel wire and non-stainless circle hooks. Very important.
Well, on the safety side, make damn sure everybody's got life jackets. Make sure you got your flares and make sure they're going to work. The VHF is a very important thing. Buddy up with another boat if you can. That's, we're all running single engine boats, and all the bay boats are all single. Well, most of them are single engine, and things can go wrong with a motor. Have extra stuff. Have some tools with you. Have some first aid kits. And Sherman Miller asking why non-stainless, because it's the law. I don't know.
It's so when you break them off in the snapper that they have a chance of rusting and going away.
Supposedly, yeah. I don't know if I buy into all that, but the descending devices, somebody posted up there and said, it was Return Them Right is the company. They give you the stuff. It's some federal grant deal and you go online. I did it a couple of years. I think you did too, John, didn't you?
We all did. I need to do it again.
Do a little online training, and they'll mail you the gear. For taking the training, and I've got the gear sitting out in the garage.
Yeah, mine's right on the table in front of me. Yeah, I said I haven't used it, But one thing that you said, Scott, that about buddying up, there was about a 3-year stretch there when I would go out a lot, near shore, offshore, that type thing, and I always did it with a buddy. The other thing I always did, and maybe I'm just soft, whatever, I never turned my motor off. I never turned my motor off.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people tell me that they won't turn their motor off. Motors are different now than
I know.
When I was first doing all that and going offshore in little boats. I mean, hell, I had that 17-foot McKee and we ran 35, 40 miles out. I mean, we caught a sailfish out of it. We had
both ways.
Yeah, we had a good time in that little boat. And that one there, I wasn't as confident in the motor as I am in the newer motors now. I don't know why. I mean, I could take the cover off of it and actually work on that one. These, I take the cover off and I just shrug my shoulders.
What am I looking at? Yeah,
I have no idea what I'm looking at under there. But that, and somebody mentioned EPIRB. Yes, an EPIRB is great. If you're going to go out there on a regular basis, an EPIRB is an awesome thing to have.
And Starlink.
They're a little expensive for what people are generally doing for the bay. It's a little overkill.
Yeah.
But they are nice. I mean, it puts out a beacon as soon as it hits the water. You can get the ones that are activated by water, or you can get the ones that are manually activated. The ones that are activated by water, as soon as they go underwater, they pop back up and start sending a beacon out and the distress signal, and stay with that sucker. I know a lot of people that have them. There's all different kind of things you can get. There's one company I bought some stuff from them. ACR, I believe, is the company, and I got stuff that goes on my life jackets that's a SOS flashing light, and I've got those on there. You can also get electronic flares now through them that actually count as your flares on your boat, that the Coast Guard can count as flares
I
instead
haven't
of
seen
carrying.
those.
Yeah, I bought a set of those as well. So there's all kind of new stuff out there, new equipment, and whatever your budget will allow you to do, it never hurts to pick up a few extra things that make you a little safer.
And one more thing here, and then we'll get to what would Scott do, what would Dean do, and Caleb. What's your favorite bait for snapper? Caleb, you talked about sardines. I brought this up because it's another little tidbit of information I picked up over the weekend, and that is some people put bait on the hook of like a snapper slapper, the jigs. Technically, I found out that's illegal because it's not a circle hook.
Right.
Yeah, and I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, so I was like, "Okay, we won't talk about maybe something I've done in the past, but yeah, the snapper slappers is in terms of artificial. What else might be there? And I wanted to share that.
I typically throw a diamond jig. That's kind of my thing. I don't know that I've ever thrown a snapper slapper just because I've never owned one and I don't care that much. But me and my buddies just have a box of diamond jigs, and that's pretty much what we throw for almost everything out there, deep dropping anything.
Yeah.
So you got all these new jigs, the slow pitch jigs and the butterfly jigs and all that kind of stuff. Any of that works. Anything that you can jig vertically, even the big feather jig. We used to use those the bucktail jigs, the real large bucktail jigs. Snapper are not that picky,
No.
So do the
Generally,
jigs
you drop something in front of them, they eat it.
Do the jigs have stainless steel hooks?
They must not. Otherwise, I think it'd be hard to buy them. But just remember not to put a piece of bait on it, or don't say you did.
So does the jig have a circle hook?
Yeah,
the jig. No, that's what I'm saying. The jig does not have a circle hook, and that's why if you put a piece of bait on the tail on it's technically illegal.
Yeah. If you were using bait, you have to have a circle hook. If you're using lures, they don't have to have circle hooks.
Probably less likely to swallow it or something.
Yep.
Yeah, probably. Whatever. All right, boys. How about I guess I haven't even looked this week. I'm always looking every day, and I haven't even looked this week at the wind. But I'm guessing not a whole lot is going to change. Dean, what are you looking at? You've been out on the water a lot, and you've got a lot of trips. You got a lot of trips coming up this week too. What would you do, man?
Yeah, it's going to be windy. It's going to rain. I haven't even looked at the forecast. I don't know. They're calling for thunderstorms tomorrow and Thursday, so we'll see how that works out for us, if you believe that. And the wind is moderate. I mean, it's nowhere near. When you were here this weekend, it just happened to peak.
Yeah.
On your day. What'd you see, Scott? What you looking at?
27.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, it's better than 35.
Not by much.
Yeah. Go ahead, Scott. Oh my goodness, I'm looking at Saturday.
Yeah,
is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, it's windy. Sunday looks pretty good. Saturday's a little on the windy side. It's not terrible around here.
Friday's 20 to 28.
Tides are up a bit. I was supposed to tarpon fish on Friday, but that ain't happening. It's 4.5 to 5 foot seas at 6 seconds.
Ouch.
I ain't doing that. I'm supposed to be poling Thursday, and it's 27 and rain. So I don't know if we're doing that either. I was supposed to maybe take Perry out on Wednesday, and it's raining and 25. So shit, I guess I'm gonna be at the house messing with tackle.
Like Glenn said, we should have all just been sailors. We'd be so excited. We'd be so happy.
You guys on Angler U wonder why we're doing a lot of in-studio stuff lately. There it is.
Yeah.
Jose Wahebe, one of his deals, I got to hang out with him a good bit, and we were talking one night, and he'd gotten into sailboarding, kite sailing deal. And I was like, man, that seems kind of odd, and different kind of different for a hardcore fisherman. He goes, no, man, I travel all over the world fishing. He said, I just bring my kiteboard stuff. And if it's real windy and we don't go fishing, I go kiteboard. And if it's not windy, I can't kiteboard. We're going to go fishing. I was like, dude,
there you go.
You unlocked it. You
Unlock the
figured it out.
secret. Unlock the secret. And Caleb, I'm not sure if you have anything to add there, but I do want to say happy anniversary. 1 year. They said it wouldn't last with Angler U, and you got stuff going on tonight, I'm sure.
And man, tonight's a big one. If you're not a member, you're screwing up. Given everybody's after caps and shirts from Angler Youth, I'm gonna give away 4 hats, and then the merch store is about to be open. And I'm gonna get the first 4 t-shirts where we're gonna get rid of. We're gonna be giving away tonight 2 baits reels, turtle box, $100 gift card to Anglers Anonymous, and a $100 gift card to Waterloo. So, man, you know, one of the things I was thinking about, I added up the fiscal amount of stuff that we've given away on Angler U. It's like 10 grand worth of stuff we've given out. Just about anything you win is worth well more than a year of your membership. And if you don't win, you're still getting discounts everywhere. And one of these days, we might even add Scott to the videos that we're doing.
All that, and I still don't have a hat.
Well,
I got a hat. I got a hat.
Year in. I'm
But,
a contributor, a member, all that good stuff, and been in it a whole year.
well, we got to talk about ratios of contribution. All I heard you right now is say 15 reasons why we can't do a video this week. All I hear, I mean, what did homie say? That all I hear is excuses. I mean,
let's go back to I'll be here in the morning.
Oh, one damn time. That did happen. That's true.
Dean, you got anything else to add before we get out of here?
I want an Angler U hat and a t-shirt, but I don't have.
Am I the only one that got a hat? Man, I feel privileged.
Dang.
You didn't hear one of them say, "Hey, Caleb, would you like to tell about Angler U?" John says it. John gets a hat.
There you go. I get a hat.
There you go.
That's what it's all about. All right. As always, you guys are the best listeners listening to us live. Those who are listening on the podcast, this will post Tuesday about 6 o'clock. Really appreciate you subscribing. Don't forget about those pinned links at the top of the group page on Facebook. You can get all that stuff taken care of for the Feeding Frenzy. A lot of stuff is coming in. I'll update it next week. We've got some really good stuff coming in for the silent auctions and live auctions and being able to take care of all that. You guys have a fantastic week, a fantastic weekend. And as I always say, catch them up. We will talk to you next time.
I was waiting for Camille to get that kid out and let the air out of Dean's ass. I'm going to be honest about it.